Hello everyone, and thanks to FSAA, Minnie, Lindsay, and Vanessa for the opportunity to discuss the UK market. I'm Will Downey. I'm Senior Business Development Manager with the Australian Trade and Investment Agency, Austrade, based here in London. And we've had a very exciting last couple of years, particularly around the free trade agreement, which has come into force now for over a year and has had a very positive impact on Australian exporters to the UK. So I thought I'd like to give an overview very briefly of Austrade's role and how we can support, and then an update on the free trade agreement and how that will also benefit Australian exporters, and then finishing off with some key elements around success and trading successfully into the UK. So if we could move to the next slide just very quickly. And perhaps to the next one. So an overview of Austrade and our role. So previous year we impacted on or had contributed to 3.7 billion Aussie dollars around in terms of outcomes. And primarily our roles are really around understanding clients' needs, helping a client identify a market they'd like to export to, and then narrowing down the channels and the customers' clients within that channel. So it might be a client is interested in the retail market here in the UK, and within that the retail market, Sainsbury's might be a target, for example, and then we'll implement business matching. So they're primarily our key roles. We offer that support around market entrance requirements, and then ultimately it gets down to business matching. And some examples here of some of the fun stuff that we do in market. So you'll see we facilitate and support clients into the market with activities like wine tastings. You can see we supported Ricky Ponting last year, launch his Ponting wine brand into the UK. And set up wine tastings in order to build awareness of the range. Also last year, the Prime Minister visited the market to coincide with the Australia-UK Free Trade Agreement coming into force, and we facilitated an in-market event, which was at a business called Daisy Green, which is actually owned by Prue Freeman, who is from Ballarat and is running a very successful Aussie-inspired business here in the UK. We also represent the industry at various trade events. So there's a talking slot there on the right-hand side of the screen where we really try and build awareness, constantly building awareness of the Australian food and drink offer and what benefit we can bring to the UK market, and ultimately build those networks which will lead to business matching. We do a whole range of events at Australia House, but not only Australia House, and we use those opportunities to showcase our world-class food and drink offer that our clients provide. And we did an occasion where we actually went around the UK and did a range of road shows. We went up to Edinburgh and presented to the market up in Scotland. And also the big landmark event that we do annually is IFE, International Food Exhibition, which is in March, which is the largest UK food and drink trade event. And we implemented the show this year. It was the biggest ever, 50 clients. We also added extra value to our clients through a business program that was 2 days prior to the trade show, where we connected our delegation to Waitrose, Ocado, M&S, and Selfridges, for example. And we also went out and did site visits to food service distributors here in the UK and relevant category distributors like seafood. So there's a whole raft of activities that we do, but ultimately it comes down to business matching. So those activities on this slide all lead to building the networks and then business matching and outcomes. Next one, please. Next one. So an overview of the UK market. So actually Australia has been trading for a long time into the UK market, particularly on red meat, which is the highlight there. And red meat has been a real beneficiary of the the free trade agreement, we trade to circa around 300 million Aussie dollars, and that has grown. Over the last 12 months, which has been great. So you will see primarily sheep meat, but also a small element of beef. Seafood is a really exciting sector for us, and we're focusing more and more on that. It's only a small element, say 2.2 million turnover at the moment into the market, and we want to grow that to 10 at least. And we've got some really exciting, unique seafood offers, species, and that complements the UK market and is not threatening. And with the high quality, I think there's real resonance here. Wine, of course, we were considered groundbreakers back in the early 2000s with the way we positioned wine in this market, and we hold about 24% share of the retail market. A lot of that is bulk wine that's bottled here, but we're very excited about the wine offer, and particularly I think given the bumpy road with China, where trade diversification is a really important element to consider. And not relying on just the one market. I think the UK and Europe has become more important, and we've also got some really exciting news about 3 wineries that are about to launch into 3 different retailers here with new lines, with new varietals over the next 3 to 4 months, which is hugely exciting. And one of the largest sectors in terms of volume is grain, so wheat and meslin and so on. And also, I should mention sugar. Sugar's also been a real beneficiary of the free trade agreement, and turnover within sugar is going to exceed 100 million Aussie dollars for the first time. So a really positive story. And I'll get to some of the key elements required to be successful in this market towards the back end of this presentation. But if we go into the next. I thought I'd give a quick overview of the retail sector just for reference. So turnover is circa 200 billion pounds, and that's in revenue. And you can see the key players a lot of you will be aware of, but Tesco dominates, and Sainsbury's second in terms of share, and then Asda. What we've seen here actually recently is the Morrisons have moved down to 5th, and Aldi have come into 4th position, which is the first time that's ever occurred, and that just is indicative of how Aldi and Lidl have redefined the retail market globally, and particularly when there's a cost of living crisis. The discounters have become more relevant. As you'd all know, if you've dealt into the retail market, the volume is there, but also the challenge is on pricing. So that's a real trade-off. Critical mass is there, but then also the volumes the pricing will be a very robust discussion, and also very structured in terms of listing windows. So if you miss a cycle, it's very much, well, come back in 12 months time. I've therefore shown some second tier players in the market who are a little bit smaller in terms of overall revenue, but are more flexible and offer different avenues into the market. And there is a strong speciality sector here: Holland and Barrett, Whole Foods, Planet Organic, which is very much around better for you and health. And of course, Selfridges, Harrods, Fortnum and Mason, these prestigious high level premium retailers, globally recognized. And we've had success into that premium sector recently with Wagyu, Yarra Valley Caviar, for example, honey. So that premium retail sector is definitely worth considering. On to the next. A quick overview of the out-of-home channel, circa 90 to 100 billion revenue. And the reason I wanted to show this was a lot of outlets, complex market to target, very much like the Australian market, perhaps on a smaller scale in Oz. But I also wanted to flick out some of the key sectors within the channel. And one consideration is around pubs. Where at home, cafe restaurants are dominant in that sort of eating out space. Pubs here, traditional English pub, famous for its hospitality, traditionally wet-led, but very much more around gastro food at the moment. And that's been a trend over the last 10, 15 years. So the point here being, when considering the UK market, the more defined you can become in terms of your target, the more likely for success. And we don't really focus so much on the cost sector, the non-commercial side, as that tends to be, free offer, if it's into prisons or healthcare or so on. However, we have connected clients into Ministry of Justice, for example, around meat. So I guess where it's more a commodity play, that's also worth a consideration. Next one, please. Yeah, I thought I'd include this just to give a snapshot of the breakdown of food service distributors. So again, similar to the Australian market, where you have two large players and then buying groups, similar to here, Breaks and Bidfood tend to dominate. Booker have, over the last 10, 15 years, historically a cash and carry model, have moved more into food service delivered. In order to broaden their offer, and they're also a player. But Breaks, as I mentioned, Bidfood, Booker, and then Country Range, Fairway, Cater Force, and so on are buying groups. So there's a real similarity there in terms of the way the market's structured. So if you are supplying into the food service market in Australia, you would be familiar with that structure. And again, highlighting that there's volumes to be had in Breaks and Bidfood, but also in the likes of, say, a Country Range, in order to launch. And that's how we direct our clients into the market. Next one. We're all aware of the way the world's changed, particularly around e-commerce, and particularly, I guess, on the back of the pandemic, where that market just exploded because obviously bricks and mortar had closed down or become restricted. And you can see there, one-stop shop around Amazon, which is growing at a rapid rate here. So Morrison's, for example, use Amazon as their food delivery platform, and there's a whole raft of alcohol and food and drink offers available on Amazon here. Grocery stores, so I've highlighted Ocado. Ocado are the largest online retailer in the UK market, purely online, no bricks and mortar, no stores. And we are working really closely with Ocado to develop an overall strategy, Australian themed, Australian Inc., if you like, launch platform, because they have the flexibility and because they don't have the stores. There's no need for that constant reassessment or evaluation of availability and presence on shelf, and they're quite flexible in their listing windows. So we're really leveraging Ocado's position as much as we can. Meal solutions are the other sector I'd call out here. So this is boxed meal deliveries that you get delivered to your home. HelloFresh, Gusto, Mindful Chef. Offering a really healthy range, diverse range. They do themed boxes, so it could be Mexican, for example. And one of our objectives is to launch an Australian theme box with one of these partners. We're very much at ground zero at that point in terms of that initiative, but that is a way of not only delivering volume, but also building awareness of the Australian food and drink offer direct to home. So within the plan, as you develop a plan to launch into the UK, again, a consideration around how do you leverage e-commerce to complement the longer term retail launch, if that is part of your strategy. Next, please. And just quickly, a really developed, ready to go, food to go, ready meal market here with some really large players. You can see Greencore second on the list there, 1.3 billion. So they're the largest sushi, ready to eat sushi provider, for example. But it's all sandwiches, wraps, ready meals, and so on, and quite sophisticated and probably more developed than in Australia, and also definitely worth a consideration in terms of how does your product, solution, ingredient fit within this sector, because that is a way of delivering on volume into this UK market. So also a consideration in terms of the plan. Next, please. Let's have a quick chat about the free trade agreement. So that's been into force now since May last year. And essentially that means that tariffs have been removed on 99% of all products, and also quotas have been largely moved or removed or being phased out. So therefore, where there was a tariff slash tax, if you like, that has largely been removed, and therefore um, this market has become more profitable. And it's either more profitable or, if that's reflected into price, more competitive into this market. And we're seeing that particularly in the likes of wine and red meat at the moment. On to the next. The other benefit is that there has been a smoothing out of the customs process. This is a big chunk of work that the UK government is very slowly working through. So essentially, when Brexit occurred, the same trading legislations just literally clicked over the next day, so that we're still operating to EU trading conditions on the whole, and that is slowly being phased out and becoming more flexible and more timely, particularly in the areas of like fresh produce, where there's a commitment that product will be passed through customs more quickly. Therefore, this market will become more attractive. And also, I'd highlight fresh produce as an opportunity, due to food security primarily. So that's worth a consideration um, around that. And that all comes on the back of the FTA. The next slide, uh, this graph, look, it's not so much around the category, it's more to give a demonstration of the benefit of the FTA. You can see there that going back into the early 70s, when the UK joined the EU, or the European Commission as it was known then, volumes essentially dropped off completely and have been quite sort of small ever since. But you can see from the moment of coming into force, the quotas and the potential upside into this market. And I'm just using this as an example to show the increased opportunity into the UK, and that's sort of applicable really to any category, provided you have a unique offer and are able to hit the price point. Next. An example of some of the instances where tariffs have been removed. And look, this is a relatively random mix, but muesli and roasted cereal flakes was 8%, now zero, for example. Honey, we're experiencing a real influx of honey clients, and also interest from UK customers around our honey offer. So particularly where it's unique. So Manuka is quite a strong and well-known brand here, or type of honey. And but so therefore we're pushing Jara as something different, and we're very excited, as I mentioned, around seafood, and you can see the benefits of that sector there in terms of the removal of tariffs. Next slide, please. And this is really the wrap up slide. We do want to see more high quality export ready clients into this market. However, launching does require UK market specific resource, both human and financial. It's not a cheap market to launch into in terms of a marketing requirement, and it is something that tends to get overlooked. So a robust marketing plan linked to investment is something we get asked for all the time from a UK customer perspective. Um, Finding the right partner is crucial around an agent or importer distributor, someone that really knows the market and is really specific to what your offer is into the UK market and their connection to UK customers. I think that's really important, and that I would urge that there's a period of time spent finding that agent or importer distributor, and that is something that Austrade can assist with. Price, of course, continues to be a key aspect into this market. A lot of that to do with the cost of living crisis. This market was hit particularly hard post the Ukraine invasion, and food was one of the most highest hit categories. We have seen inflation lower or reduce, but still historically high at about 3 to 5%. So that is a consideration. Does your product fit into the premium high end market, which has been relatively not impacted with the affluent market, or is that something that's a pivot to a lower, better value for you offer? Sustainability is has been a very strong trend here into this market, where previously it'd perhaps be something that you'd put towards the back end of a customer presentation. Now it's something to discuss upfront around all those things around carbon neutral, how the product is produced, how you're reducing energy, and so on. Non-plastic is a key. We're constantly looking at how plastic can be removed from the supply chain. Traceability is also a real factor here. The UK consumer wants some assurance around labour practices, slave labour practices, and also the same sustainability practices. So that if you do have a story that you can tell, then that should be highlighted as well, and that links into labour practices. But look, ultimately, Austrade can assist pull all of this information together and help review your marketing plan, your market launch plan, and then once that market's been identified, we can also assist with that business matching, as I mentioned. And we are keen and we are open for business here, and looking for export ready, high quality Australian clients. So thank you very much to the FSAA team. I'm looking forward to being overwhelmed with queries from Australia. Thank you very much.